How good is this? I've been looking forward to these big brain pair joining us this evening. John Anderson, Amanda Stoker, lovely to see you both. There's a lot to get to, including I'm going to say something that is mildly, potentially unpopular, and the internet is about to turn upon me, but it already loved me so much, didn't it? Now, as we know, Optus is the victim of a crime that somebody stole all of those people's information. Yet, the government, wanting to seem like we're doing something, even though they don't really play a role in all of this, is now saying that Optus itself is the one that has to pay for everyone to get new driver's licence or passports. Here's part of the talking points in Canberra today.
Now, one of the big focuses of these discussions and the discussions that are ongoing, including, again, between myself and the ACCC chair this morning, is the safe and secure sharing of data between Optus and regulated financial institutions with the appropriate safeguards to allow those institutions to undertake enhanced monitoring for the purposes of best protecting their consumers.
So, Amanda, while I am one of the many that is saying no to Optus as opposed to yes at the moment, I just don't understand. Why does the victim of the crime have to pay the government for stuff that was stolen from them?
Look, I hear what you're saying, Paul, but if you draw the analogy for any other type of crime, and this is a crime, it is the wrong thing, and governments have over time been trying to skill up businesses to be able to better protect against this kind of data theft. Let's say it was a theft of a TV from a house. The police's job is to prevent crime as best they can, but they don't offer to get you a new TV if your TV gets knocked off. It's the job of the person who owns the TV or who's using the TV to insure it. Similarly, there are financial products out there that Optus can take advantage of to insure against this business risk.
Fair point.
Those products exist because this stuff is real, and we wouldn't compensate or offer a replacement value item to any other crime. I'm not sure why this is different. That said, it's right for governments to be doing everything they can to try and get people in a position to be able to protect their identity, protect themselves against fraud, and they should be making sure that Optus has met all of the relevant standards necessary to make sure that they are treating people's information with care.
All right, consider myself learned. Now, let's have a chat here, John, about federal ICAC, the Integrity Commission that, of course, is going to, frankly, be a standing royal commission into question time scandals. Here's the Prime Minister saying, best thing since sliced bread.
We do need to restore faith in our political system. We need to make sure that there's transparency, that there's accountability and that there is integrity.
Well, firstly, get rid of the comb-over. Just be your true self, Albo. But help us out here, John. This conversation about public hearings, I mean, this thing's going to happen, and I think that it's good to have some restrictions, that you're not just going to have a whole collection of people walking into what looks like a courtroom and walking out of what looks like a courtroom, but it isn't actually a courtroom and doesn't even have the same burden of evidence like a courtroom.
Well, I'm afraid in a sense you're talking to the wrong person, because I don't believe in this sort of machinery anyway. I think it's been a disaster. I'm not a supporter of ICAC in New South Wales or these things around the states. They have certainly exposed some terrible behaviour, but I would have preferred to have seen that done through the more rigorous normal law processes and also through the discrimination of voters. I don't think at a federal level this will tackle the problem at all. I think the far greater issue of integrity is people being honest about the impact of their policies. You've got far too much populism, which is essentially people telling politicians and senators, telling people what they want to hear, promising they'll deliver it when they don't believe in it and they know it can't be delivered.
Great point. I mean, as I mentioned earlier in the show, we're going to slowly fix the budget by multinational tax. Hang on, 1.9 over 4, but they have to increase the amount of spending by 2.5 every year, $1 billion. Nothing to see here. Look over there, we're changing the $5 note. Ridiculous. Now, Gavin Newsom is the bloke who will end up being the Democrat nominee for president if Joe Biden doesn't run, and Kamala Harris, well, she's terrible, and he believes that there's not enough lefties in the media.
That's what's so sad, but now it's weaponized at a whole nother level with this feedback loop of social media and then, of course, the propaganda networks and the anger machine, which, of course, the right dominates. And we have nothing, respectfully, nothing comparable.
Is this bloke serious? Last time I checked, the entire American media turned around and covered Joe Biden's speech declaring the first galactic empire, there a few weeks ago, as if it was an important discussion about a threat to democracy. The mainstream media hid stories about Joe Biden during the 2020 election, and so on, Amanda. This bloke is out of his tree, and good luck taking on DeSantis in 24.
Look, it is a pretty out there point of view, but is it any more out there than the many Australians who think the ABC in Australia is not left-wing enough? There are heaps of people who think this way. And so, I really do think that reflects the way that so much of political debate and the media has become really fractured. There's in many ways been a loss of common ground, and unless America can start to heal that, I think it's a country that's up for some pretty big heartache.
Yeah, John, again, this idea, there's no feedback loop on the left, it's called the entire media. It's called big tech.
Well, he, of course, was interested in launching an attack on Fox. But in reality, I suspect the real game is to try and divert attention away from what is really happening in California. It's the fifth largest economy, I think, in the world, only marginally smaller than Germany if you took it on its own as a state. Now, what's actually happening there, and if you go to really good thinkers like Joel Kotkin at Chapman University, you've got the emergence of a new feudalism. Staggeringly wealthy, very limited numbers of elites at the top, particularly in the tech and the sort of social media empire side of it all, Silicon Valley, those sorts of things. You've squeezed out the middle classes. Industry is leaving. 70% of industry that's leaving California, and there's a lot of it leaving, is going to Florida or to Texas or to Utah or to Arizona. And although there's a lot of jobs being created in California, they are all very low paid jobs. So you're getting a new feudalism, as Joel Kotkin puts it. This is a very real problem. And it's a foretaste of, if you like, the outcomes of the progressive policy agenda. It's quite extraordinary how powerful this is. And we are going to end up, I think, with terrible pressure, given the policies being pursued by progressives everywhere. They call themselves progressives. I don't know what to call them. The people who like to think emotively all the time, perhaps, rather than deal in hard data and actual reality, and don't want to look at what's happening in their own backyard, as in California, where the middle class is literally being squeezed out, the bulwark of your community being squeezed out of existence. So, there's just more and more and more of this stuff. And the response is more and more shrill, less and less grounded in reality, more and more false, in as much as it's just absurd to say that conservatives dominate the media in the United States.
It's such rubbish. Look, their dream is that all of us one day have kids, and if we have kids, of course, and desperately hope that one day their dream is to shine the shoes of, the great senators of the world like Lydia Thorpe. Thank you, guys. Do appreciate it.